Welcome to episode 168 of the Daniel Yours podcast with today's guest, Carmie Hawkins. Let's go. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. If you are a regular listener, you will recognize today's guest, Carmie Hawkins. She is probably one of the best supporters of the podcast, one of the best supporters of many, many great fitness podcasts and coaches, creators, whatever label you want to put on it, on the social media space. So today we're lucky to have Carmie join us and hear from her and her expertise as a coach and as a mother and as a woman and as a human being. So Carmie, thanks so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me, Daniel. I appreciate it.
It is it's one of these things where we've never actually spoken, like had a real conversation until today, but I feel like we've spoken so much and that I know you so well. So, we can talk a lot about negative things about social media, but there's a lot of positives there as well.
There is, yes.
How do you introduce yourself? How do you like to say what it is that you do? Because you do a lot of things, again, being a mom, being a coach, having a job, like all these things. There's a lot of things going on. How do you introduce yourself?
I mean, I introduce myself as ultimately mom, because that's number one priority to me. I introduce myself as health and fitness coach because I think that's a passion of mine. I do also have a full-time job as an x-ray tech, which allows me to keep the lights on, pay the bills, and allow me to run my business in a way that feels right for me. I don't have to resort to scummy tactics. I can do things from my heart and really ultimately just try to help change lives, because I think that both you and I and everybody in our ecosystem, like-minded coaches, are really striving to do nowadays, because it's getting really bad out there. But like you said, there is a lot of negative in the social media space. But if you find yourself on the right side of the algorithm, there's a lot of great stuff out there. And I think that both you and I are on the right side of the algorithm. And so ultimately we are banding together to try to drown out the noise so that people can see that there's a better way than what you've been doing. And it's very simple, but executing it, because you have to basically unlearn everything that you've learned from the past, especially us women. It's hard. And learning to have that delayed gratification is hard, because a lot of us women, we have been spinning our wheels for years, decades even. And we wanted our results 5 years ago, and it just hasn't happened. But the problem is that you're spinning your wheels because you're trying the wrong things. You're trying the same thing over and over again, expecting new results. And it's just not working. So why not try something different? And that's what I try to relate to, people in my ecosystem, whether they're people that I'm vetting or my clients, that just try it this way. Try it this way. Give me a year. Give me a year of your time and let me show you that there's more out there. I mean, Aram posted something on Mother's Day of all days. The day that we should be celebrating ourselves. We grew tiny humans. We're freaking unicorns. I'm sorry. All moms are unicorns. Whether you want to believe it or not, we are magical. And he posted something that said he was at a coffee shop and a dad and a son were there trying to get something for the mom. And the little boy wanted to get his mom a pastry. And the dad said, "We can't get that from mom. She's doing 75 hard." The amount of emotions that I went through in about 10 seconds was just heartbreaking, because that's not it, man. That's not it. We're middle-aged women. Let's stop trying to compete with the 20-something-year-olds and let's just be happy and let's be healthy. Let's rocket into our 40s, 50s, and 60s and just be like the badass versions of ourselves that we possibly can be. I mean, do we have an uphill battle because we're aging? Yeah. But it doesn't have to be so steep. It could be a lot easier. And it just starts with mastering the basics. And I know it's boring and I know it's not sexy, but it's where it's at.
I think the other side of this is this. People like us who are trying to preach this more wholesome message, a more holistic message that, yes, this is going to take a long time. And no, I can't get you, shredded 6-pack, supermodel body in 45 days or whatever it is. If we genuinely thought that we could do it that fast and in a healthy and sustainable way, why wouldn't we do that? Like, that is way easier to sell. We would make way more money by doing that. Instead, we're trying to sell a harder route. And it's not because we want that. It's just because that's how it is.
Mm-hmm.
And through our own experiences and education and whatever, we've kind of arrived at these conclusions. I'm sure, and I'd like to talk about it, that you've been through or tried some crazy diets and stupid workout programs and all the things, as have basically every single person in fitness that I know. And you eventually realize, like, hey, this ain't it. There's got to be another way. And so then you arrive at where you're at now. And it's no one's fault if you believe in these things or have been kind of caught by these things, for lack of a better word. It's not your fault. You don't know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to understand that, like, hey, there's a reason why people are talking about this in another way. And it's not because there's more money to be made or that it's easier. Like, no one would sell the harder, slower way if it wasn't the truth. So where I want to begin with this is, what was your introduction into fitness, like for your own self? Did it start from when you were a kid with sports, or like how did you start to get involved in fitness?
Well, I've always been active my whole entire life. I grew up as a dancer. And so really having to learn about nutrition and fitness, it was non-existent because I was active. It's just like most kids when they're in sports. I was competitive in it. So 5, 6, 7 days a week, just always active, always running around doing that. So it wasn't until probably college where I had to put my big girl pants on and actually, to my parents, what they had to tell me was be an adult. I had to take a step back from dancing and actually go to college and do what most Asian cultural families tell you: go be a doctor, go do this, go do be a nurse, go be a lawyer, something that's reputable, something that's distinguishable, something we can brag about, because dancer
something not
is
a dancer.
Not
Yeah.
So, I mean, there was like a multitude of things going on with that, because it's almost like I also lost a sense of identity.
Mm-hmm.
I also lost my activity level. And at the time, like you said, you don't know what you don't know until you know it, right? So at the time, I didn't understand, like, why is my body changing? I thought it was just freshman 15, because I went from pretty, active and petite, not having to worry about how I ate, to, oh my gosh, everything that I'm putting in my body is like my body's fighting back with it. So now I'm in college and I'm gaining 20, 30 pounds. And I didn't realize it till it happened, and I couldn't figure it out. So of course, naturally, what do? I start going to people who look fit, asking them, what do you do? Because that's what we do. Our whole generation, we weren't taught this, right? We basically went off of, if you weren't in fitness and you weren't looking at the magazines and the publications, us women, because we didn't know that, right? Because that was for the gym bros. That was for the quote unquote meatheads.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do that. We ask other women, like, oh, you look good. What do you do?
Right. And at the time, to be fair, there was no social media. The ease of access to information wasn't like as much. Like, you would have had to go to the library and read books and like do all this stuff and do an internship and like do a bunch of other things, rather than like asking someone who looks, the way you want to look or whatever. That is a totally viable way and probably the fastest and easiest way to get information, like, at the time.
Or we go to the magazines, the Women's
Right.
Health or the Shape, where they're like, go do this or go drink this or go do that. So I guess that's why I ultimately have such a chip on my shoulder, because the common message was eat less and go do more cardio, which is why I have such a chip on my shoulder about cardio. Does cardio have its place? Yes, it does. But I need women to understand that being a cardio bunny is not where it's at. You don't have to do that. And I really strongly believe that that's why people have a hard time buying into this, because they really think in their head they have to be a cardio bunny, hitting that treadmill, hitting that Stairmaster, hitting that elliptical 7 days a week for 2 hours straight.
Yeah.
And it's not. I mean, honestly, at a certain point, women have to understand there's a lot of work on the front end with the lifestyle that we're preaching. But once you get to the back end of it, it becomes second nature, and it's like non-existent at that point. It's just, you flip it on the switch and you go. I mean, I'm not even training. I mean, I'm training with intensity, but I'm training 4 lift days a week, 1 cardio day, and 1 recovery and mobility day. So, I mean, it's not very hard on me. It's not very taxing. It doesn't take a lot of mental out of me, and I can still go do my day. So here I am doing a whole bunch of cardio, trying to figure it out. Then whatever yo-yo diet comes. I mean, I basically modeled what my mom did because that's what we all do, right? So, I mean, there was the cayenne tea diet. There was
cayenne tea.
Yes, there was like you make like a lemonade. So you make like hot water, lemon, cayenne pepper, and honey, and you drink that for basically 24 hours.
Jeez.
For X amount of days. And you and I both know, yes, you're going to lose weight because you're not eating.
Sure.
But most of that is bloat and
the
water.
The diet was just to drink that? Like not any real food?
Mm-hmm. For like 3 days.
Oh my God. Like, yeah, it would work for sure.
And then it was the tea burners and the fat burners. And I mean, whatever that was out there, I probably tried it. I mean, I never did Weight Watchers or anything like that. But if there was a fad out there and there was somebody selling something, I was buying it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of women will resonate with that. And that's why I am so strong about people pushing like supplements and fad diets on people, because you're just going to keep spinning your wheels wondering why you're not getting the results that you want. Yeah. So, I mean, ultimately, that's really where my whole journey came from. Then I pretty much just gave up at a certain point and started having kids. And I'm like, for lack of a better statement, fuck this. I'm over this. I'm tired of spinning my wheels. This is just me now. I'm a mom now. They wrecked my body. This is as good as it's going to get. Did I try to go into the gym every once in a while? I did. But it was just like going into the gym, no plan, doing whatever workout I saw on Instagram, doing more cardio, just basically torturing myself. That's honestly what I equate to the women that I see is you're torturing yourself. And it's really sad. It's really heartbreaking. And then fast forward to, 2020, finally decided that after 2 kids, we're going to go get married. Now I'm in reactive mode. And as a coach, you know what reactive mode is. You have a client that signs up with you and says, hey, I need to lose 10 pounds. I need to lose 15 pounds in 8 weeks. I got a vacation or I got a wedding.
Yeah.
That was me. I signed up with Beachbody. Oh, Beachbody. I have a love-hate relationship with Beachbody.
I learned a lesson from everything. Yeah.
I appreciate it because it got me off the couch and it ignited a fire back inside me because I got active again. So I will forever be grateful for that period of my life. But where I don't like it is basically who signed me up. And she didn't know better. But again, this is now that I know, this is why I feel a type of way about MLMs and people selling things, is because she promised me that it was reasonable for me to lose 20 pounds in less than 8 weeks. And as a coach, both of us as coaches, you know, that's probably not a promise you want to make a client. Because unless they're going to be 110% adherent and strict like a motherfucker.
Unless you're going to hate your life, do exactly everything perfectly, have a little bit of luck, and also have like a lot of weight to lose. Like I would say to someone like, yeah, it's possible we could do it, but in no way am I promising that or recommending that.
Well, for reference, I'm glad you brought that up, because for reference, I was pushing about 165 on a 5'0" frame, which I'm carrying some weight, but it's not so extreme to where I'm going to be able to easily lose 20 pounds in 8 weeks. Yeah.
If someone was, I don't know, like upwards of 250, like
that would be more reasonable.
You can lose 20 pounds in 8 weeks. Yeah, it's pretty reasonable for that.
Yeah, because more than likely these people are overeating. So all we have to do is basically dial in their nutrition, and then that in itself will help, right?
Yeah, well, and there's just more weight to lose. Like there's just a greater potential, right? So anyways, yeah.
So flash forward to my wedding. I lost about 10 pounds, which I was happy because I was seeing results. I was bought in at that point. So that was cool. And at that point, I was like, all right, well, it is what it is. I got to go get married, right? I'm not going to push my wedding off because I didn't lose the weight. So at that point, I was bought into the process. But then I was like, oh, okay, let's push it, because I do have somewhat of an addictive personality. I think a lot of us who are in this kind of have levels of it. And we basically traded one addiction for another. So at least personally speaking for me.
That's fair. That's fair.
So I bought into it, and I bought into it hard. So now I'm like, all right, this is cool. And now I'm a coach with Beachbody, and I'm doing the little fucking containers. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, where basically they have something called 21 Day Fix. And it's essentially, it kind of is like lazy macros.
Okay. But
it's not because you're measuring everything in colored cups, and each like macro has basically assigned cup. But you and I both know that cups, I mean, I could pack it in there and basically, say it's a cup, but it's not.
Yeah.
So I did that, but I was eating 1,200 calories at that point, and I was eating 1,200 calories for like 6 months at this point. And now I'm doing 2 a days. And it is strength based, or it does have some strength training in it, but it's more cardio based, because it's like, go do this and then go do this and then go do a burpee. So you and I both know it's not really hypertrophy training, but it did have some
actual strength training. Yeah.
It did have some like weightlifting in it, to where I did see newbie gains. And then fast forward to about a year, I was like, miserable. Now I'm miserable because now I'm underfed, I'm overworked, and I'm burnt out. And that's where most women...
And your body probably stopped changing by this point.
Yes. I essentially got skinny fat. So I did see results, but it still wasn't what I was chasing. I'm like, why am I still not happy? And why am I working so hard? This sucks. This really sucks. And most women would just be like, I give up. I'm done with this. But for me, I was like, there's got to be something different than this. This doesn't feel right. This doesn't seem right. I see all these people, they look all nice, they look, toned, and they look happy, and I don't feel happy. I'm mad at everybody. I'm grumpy because I'm hungry and I'm tired. So I'm like, I can't be eating 1,200 calories for the rest of my life. This just doesn't seem right. I start to question everything. And this is where I have the issue with Beachbody, is they do encourage people to get active. They do encourage people to get a healthy life, but the messaging behind the company sucks. Because, I mean, ultimately, I know now from being an outsider of it that their whole goal is to only give you enough to keep you bought in, to still keep needing them. They're not going to teach you like how you want to teach your clients, how I want to teach my clients, because essentially my goal for my clients is I want to teach you the basics so you can go run with it later and have some type of autonomy. Should you choose to want to stay with me and stay in my ecosystem, cool, but it's because you want me, not because you need me.
Right.
Beachbody and things like that is because they want you. They want your money. So they give you the basis of nutrition, but don't tell you how to periodize your nutrition. They just basically insinuate that you should be at 1,200 calories or 1,500 calories or whatever your baseline should be based off of their equations. And they sell you a dream that by doing their programs, you're going to look like the trainer that's doing the programs. And I have a hard time with that. Because I'm like,
false.
It's false. Yes, it's
probably no one in the program looks like the trainers in the program.
No,
or the
and
for the program.
For example, Sean T, right? So he's doing bodybuilding now. And of course, in true form of Beachbody, now they put out a bodybuilding formatted program. Okay, cool. But he did that in a gym.
Yeah.
You can't sell women on the fact that they're going to be bikini body ready or bodybuilding ready at home with some dumbbells.
Yeah.
Just because they're doing your program. So it's a lot of like false advertisement. And I have it's hard for me because women believe that. They believe that this company has their best interests at heart, and they don't. They really don't.
I'm with you on that. And I think that, it is one thing. It is good that they get people off the couch for sure. Like that is overwhelmingly, a good thing, but there has to be a way to sell it without saying a lie. There's no world in where anyone is stepping on a bodybuilding stage that is even remotely competitive where they did that by working out at home with, 7.5 pound dumbbells. Like it's just not how it is. And that's, if that was true, then I would be the first one to say, like, go ahead and do that. That's way easier than going to the gym 7 days a week and killing yourself and taking drugs. But it's not the case. So like there has to be some truth to this message here. And that's where I think that, people like you and I now, you draw the line at this. Like, there has to be a little bit more integrity. It's fine to say what it is. It's a strength-based, stretch that a little bit. It's mostly a cardio workout and with some resistance moves, but no one's building strength. No one's getting super strong doing Beachbody. You're getting stronger than sitting on the couch, but you're not really strength training. And that's all fine and good, but like, there's limitations to this. And there would be nothing wrong with that if there was then clearer communication about what you're going to get, and then what is like the next level. So there's like, level 1 of this program, and that's kind of just like do your basics. Then level 2 is like, okay, let's do a little bit more structured strength training. Let's, maybe start to tailor your nutrition to you, not give everyone, 1,200 calories and these little cups. And let's start to understand how we can use this for the long term, because obviously you're not going to stick on 1,200 calories for forever, but it makes it seem like that is. And this is where people get in the cycle, because it kind of works, then it stops working, and you think, oh, well, it worked before, so it'll work again. So I'll just go back to it. And then you're just in the whirlwind, and it's hard to get out.
So check this out. So I had also found out, because I always have people just giving me information, that once they released that bodybuilding program, because my whole thing was they're not properly teaching people about nutrition. Somebody was like, oh, but they're teaching people to go in a bulk. And immediately I was like, because you and I both know that people who have gone from 1,200, like, how are you calculating a bulk for them? Because most general lay people don't technically need to go in a bulk to build. Maintenance is just fine. I've been at this for 4.5 years. I have yet to take myself through a bulk, because maintenance has worked just fine. And I also don't have inspiration to go get on a stage. So I'm like, I'm just going to slow play it, because I'm good with where I'm at right now.
Yeah. Almost no one needs to do it. It's way harder and has more potential downsides than most people will believe.
But why do you think they did that?
Because you gain more weight and then you have to lose it again. Yeah.
Boom. And that's where I have the problem. You are purposefully messing with people to keep them in your ecosystem. And to me, that's kind of fucked up.
I agree. It is really sad because I've never been through one of those things. I hear about them from people like you and from, just from the internet. And I've not really looked into them. But I only hear negative things. I only hear things like this predatory kind of tactics. And I'm sure it's not only this company. I'm sure they're all the same.
It's every single MLM. I have people who are now outside of MLMs, like the group that I had spoken out of. Basically, they were told to pray on the house mom, the mom that needed a community, the mom who will be willing to spend money. And you and I both know that, like, supplementation, there is a time and a place for it, right? But it also is dependent on the individual and their needs. There are some that, yes, I think that you and I both would sign off on, that like across the board people could take. But you're a common house mom. And there's nothing against that. But I have never, because the MLM scene is rampant where I live. Like, absolutely rampant. I watch people jump from MLM to MLM to MLM. I don't have a problem with that. You're trying to make money. You have a side hustle. That's cool. I respect that. But do it in a way that's moral and ethical, and not seeming like you're basically trying to just steal people's money, because that's how it's coming off. I have yet to ever watch you talk about nutrition. I've yet to ever watch you exercise. But now here you are telling people that this bottle will suppress your appetite, make you lose weight. And all the people ever heard was, oh, it's going to make me not eat. Oh, it's going to make me lose weight. I'm going to take it. No. Women need to stop suppressing their appetite. Because honestly, when you get older and you don't eat, you're only going to fuck yourself up even more. You're going to feel shitty on top of already a shitty situation. The best thing that women can do is start to feed themselves and honor their bodies. And it's like, I can't stand it. Honestly, it drives me up a wall, because I just wish that people understood that there was more out there for themselves. And that's I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, I mean, that's ultimately what I did with my journey. Because at this point, I'm still not a coach, after I was doing the Beachbody, but I started to question, what else was out there. And then I discovered macros, and I discovered a boot camp with Amber Brusicki, Biceps After Babies. And essentially that's where it started for me, because I was like, oh, I started to learn how to reverse, which, I mean, there's a little bit of, nuance with reversing nowadays. I get it. I think that there is still a place for it and a necessity for it, especially for clients who this is new to them. I do think that it's good for them. But I mean, for people like us who are experienced, do we really necessarily need to reverse? Probably not. But sometimes it's good for the mind, right?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think the reverse dieting thing is like fairly well established that it's not necessary physiologically, but like psychologically for some people it is definitely necessary and a good strategy. What I was going to ask you then is this. If we can use the logic that, hey, this, my Daniel's magic potion pill, like if you take this, you'll lose weight. When I see things like that, the first thought is, well, if that was true, why doesn't everyone just do this? And I think that most people can understand that logic and would agree with that, and that when you really stop to think about it, you would realize, hold on a second, this is probably not all it's cracked up to be. So then, in your opinion, and from people and circles people and things like this, why do you think that people still get caught in that trap, so to speak? Like, what is it about that? What is it about it that's so enticing, even though probably everyone who gets in it knows deep down that this ain't it?
Well, I think there's a number of reasons. Because people don't want to work that hard. Because is our lifestyle hard at the beginning? Yes, because you are having to rework everything that you've learned in the past. You have to unlearn everything that you've learned in the past about fitness and nutrition. And you're going to actually have to show up and do the work. And people don't want to do the work. Do you know how many people I get that tell me, like, I can't believe you come home from work after 8-hour day and then, plan your meals and have them ready for tomorrow? Well, why wouldn't I? It's important. It's a non-negotiable. It's what keeps me looking like this and feeling good. It keeps me on track. I'm not willing to just throw caution to the wind when it comes to me. Do I sometimes get a little flexible with myself? Yeah, but 90% of the time I'm on top of it. So people don't want to do that. So it's that part. And they really do think that there is just a missing piece of the puzzle. And they're hoping that that one thing is finally the missing piece to the puzzle. Because let's be honest, people want instant gratification. And then to add to that, they probably have seen results with like fat burners and stuff like that, because it does suppress your appetite. But what people need to understand is if you saw results, but then you gained it all back, you didn't really see results. Women are celebrated amongst these MLMs because they're like, oh, I lost this weight with this. But the thing is that what is the backstory? What's the context? How was your lifestyle prior to you taking your fat burners? Were you drinking every night? Were you drinking every weekend? Were you eating out all the time? And then now are you taking these fat burners and now you're not eating? Now you've tried to clean up your nutrition. Now you've stopped drinking. Did you lose weight? Yeah. But is it because of the fat burners? Maybe because you're not eating. But did you also make lifestyle changes with that? So which is the biggest factors? It's your lifestyle changes. It's not the pills. But then you get off the pills. You didn't really learn the basics of everything, or you didn't really do anything to really make it your constant. And then now you're back to where you started. But in your head, you're like, oh, I got results. But did you?
Right.
Because I'm not over here losing the same 10 pounds over and over again.
Yeah.
I mean, did I gain weight? Yes, but I recompositioned my body. That's why I gained weight. I gained muscle weight versus fat weight. And what these women also need to understand is when you go on fat burners and injections, if you're doing that and it gives you a little bit of buy-in to the journey and to the process, fine. But you need to have your guardrails up. You need to learn your exit strategy and how to basically implement this lifestyle. Because all that's happening when you're suppressing your appetite with whatever it is that you're using, you're essentially losing weight, but you're losing fat and lean muscle mass. And you and I both know that that's the worst thing for any person, because now if you're net negative in muscle mass, it's a recipe for disaster, because you're going to gain that weight back plus more if you're not implementing the basics of fitness and nutrition.
And even if you lose the weight, you don't end up liking the way you look. You get that skinny fat look where it's like, okay, I've lost 30 pounds or whatever, but I still don't look the way that I should. And then it's confusing. It's why I did everything right. I did everything the program told me to. I lost the weight. The number on the scale is down, and I still don't look the way I should. Like, what is it that's going on here? And the reality is that the number on the scale was never the thing. You don't walk around with, like, you know, your weight on your forehead where people can see it and then judge you based on that. They, you know, the judging happens by, like, how do you actually look?
Yeah.
And someone could be 105 pounds or 145 pounds or 185 pounds. And all of those people can look amazing because of the shape and proportion and whatever of their body. And none of that happens without having muscle.
No. And that's what people don't, that's what women especially, there has been a total mind fuck done on us women where we shouldn't strength train. We shouldn't lift heavy weights. We should be sticking with the pink little 5-pound dumbbells. And I was stuck in that mind fuck. But then it wasn't until I actually started pushing myself and doing some real heavy lifting, I was like, I kind of like that body. Mm-hmm. And
so talk me through that experience, what that felt like, where you were used to exercising, you were used to being active, and like exercise as a concept wasn't new to you. But then you started lifting like properly, lifting with intensity, lifting heavy, lifting for strength building, lifting for performance. Not the physical changes, but what did that feel like mentally and emotionally for you?
Me, honestly, freaking badass, man. I mean, I'm like living through this mantra now where I just want to walk around being a mermaid goddess beast because women are so scared of muscle. And I've been at this like, let's just say I've been at this for about 4.5 years, but really, really, really like strength training hard with intensity, with the intent to build muscle. Let's say I'll even cut myself short. We'll say 2 years. I do not walk around looking shredded. I mean, do I walk into a room and you can tell that I work out? Yes. And I love that, because if you're ever having a bad day and you're like a fit person, go walk into a room with a bunch of regular people. You'll feel real good about yourself. And I don't mean that to sound like a shitty person, but it's like, if you ever need a confidence boost, go do that, because you're going to understand that you're doing what you got to do to take care of you. And there's a lot of people who don't.
Yeah. And the amount, another thing to say on that just quickly is that it's one thing for someone to look like a super shredded, you know, supermodel, cover model, stage lean, whatever, all this stuff. That takes like a crazy amount of work and a crazy amount of time. Like no one's really getting there in 2 years or 5 years even, whatever. It takes a long time. But it's pretty fast to get to a point where you're like, hey, you look like you work out. And people can look at you and be like, oh, she goes to the gym. Like she works out. She's in shape. And people might ask you, well, what are your secrets? You look amazing. You must have done this all the time. And that can happen that can happen in probably a year for most people.
Yeah. Or, I mean, honestly, that started happening for me like within probably 6 months, because I was hitting it hard, and I was eating up information like it was nobody's business. Like I wanted to know, which basically sparked my interest to go join NASM and get my certifications, because I'm like, I didn't do it to run a business. I was like, you know what? I just want to know. I want to know. I want to be educated. I want to be able to basically be Frankenstein on myself. That's what I wanted to fuck around and find out on myself. That's what I wanted to do. And then it just tailspinned into, okay, this is where it's at. What these people are talking about that I'm now following, they're actually speaking truth to that. Maybe I should listen. So I started listening, and then it became, I have to do this for my daughters. I have to be the role model for my daughters. I'm raising 2 daughters, and I'll be damned if they fall into the same traps that I fell into, because you know what? They're going to know better. They're going to know how to basically apply things. If they're not quite happy with where they're at, they're going to know how to apply it, and apply it in a sustainable way and not a destructive way. because Lord knows I've done a lot of destructive things to be able to feel like I liked myself. And that really sucks. So that's basically what the evolution was. And then it was like, okay, let's run a business. Well, Aram, he was like, what the fuck are you waiting for? Go start your business. You could do this. He's like, you're way more relatable than me. He's like, you're a mom doing the damn thing. Like, go do it. I was like,
and more knowledgeable than literally probably more than half the people out there. Like, there are some huge idiots that are selling stuff and making a lot of money, and I'm the first to say that.
Well, I appreciate that, but it's honestly, I'll give credit where credit's due. It's because of you guys, people like you, Aram, Lauren, Jimmy, just out of the kindness of your hearts, just nurturing me. Like, I don't even know if you guys knew what you were doing, but you were doing it, and I'm forever grateful for that.
Well, that means a heck of a lot, because it is what we're trying to do, not with any one individual, but with as many people as possible, and just kind of give that. And then, like you said, you, or like what Aram said to you, is that, you are more relatable than someone like me, someone like Aram. Because like for me, like, yeah, I had my injury and I had my, my stuff, but like on the women's side of things, like I've all these experiences you're talking about, cayenne tea diet, like I've never even heard of that. And like there was no possibility in my world, in my upbringing, that I would have ever done that it would have ever even crossed my path. I know a lot of shit about fitness and a lot of things. I've never even heard of that, right? So just to say, so you have a lot of unique experiences, and everyone has unique experiences, and this is what it is, because there's no secret knowledge. I don't have access to some special knowledge that you don't have or that anyone else has, but every coach has their own experiences. And so I say things in a certain way, you say things in a certain way, but we're saying the same things. Mm-hmm. And for one person, it's going to resonate, and that's great. And that's what matters. Right. And it's just about getting the right message out there, and trying to find like, hey, some of these programs and some of this kind of gimmicky stuff, it gets people in the door, but now we've got to actually educate people properly, because there's so much more to this. And the most important thing is what you just said about making it better for your daughters going forward. This is way more important with women, but also important with boys and men as well, is that, it's not your mother's fault or your grandmother's fault that you had the diet culture, whatever things that you had happen to you, because they were doing the best they could with the information that they had, right? Mm-hmm. It's no one's fault. That's just a generational thing, whatever, cultural, maybe, kind of, but it is what it is. But now we know better. And like, we have to do better, right? You can break that cycle for your daughters by implementing all the things that now, right? And that is the thing that is most important. It affects, I think, girls and women way more than men and boys, but still with boys as well. Like, but it's the same thing. You have to pass it down to the kids.
Across the board, parents, it's our responsibility. It's if you find yourself spinning your wheels, find yourself unhappy with your body, I would empower you guys to go try to find out why, and try to explore it, and try to make lifestyle changes. Because let's be honest, I'm about to be 40. Do I wish like I could have like abs and stuff like that? Yeah, sometimes. But I understand what it would take to do that. And I understand I might also have hormones working against me. So I'm okay with it. I'm okay with where I'm at. Like, is there always room for improvement? Yes. But here's the thing. Once you get to a certain point, it's got to be more than just your outward appearance. We can't just walk around being so vain that it's like, I just want to look shredded all day long. Because yeah, you could look shredded, but if you have a shitty personality and you're broken inside, like, what does it matter? Like, you look good, but you're a shitty person. Like, let's evolve from also working on our outward appearance, but also our inward appearance. Let's be decent human beings. Let's create memories for our kids where they're like, mom wasn't always torturing herself. Mom was always grumpy because she was hungry. Mom was always grumpy because she was tired because she was working out all the time. My kids are in the gym with me. They ask me, Mom, what are you doing today? Will we be in the way? Because there's certain days, like if I'm throwing down the weights because I'm doing RDLs or deadlifts, no, they can't come in. But if it's a day where like they can just be in the corner, yeah, absolutely. Come in. Cause think about that. Like, you're about to get married. I don't know if you have plans to be a dad, but if you are, like, think about that though. We're going to raise a generation entirely different than what we grew up in. And that's pretty fucking cool. Like, I have kids who want to. I got the green light from Dr. Alan Bacon that it's cool for them to lift. So now they want to learn. I'm working on squat patterns with my 10-year-old, just box squats. I mean, my 7-year-old, I'm letting her do little bicep curls with the baby weights. Like, it's really cool. It's really cool because I'm going to push these 2 little girls out into the world with so much self-worth and value and education. Knowledge is power. That's why parents, you have to learn for yourself so you can pass that down to your kids and we can break the cycles. Like, Weight Watchers needs to go away. We need to stop with the Weight Watchers. We need to stop with all those alternatives. Like, when did we go so far away from positive lifestyle things like sustainable living? How did we get so far away from that?
This is what I was just thinking, is that it's not so much like kids are not born with, they don't have like this negative diet culture. It comes to them, and because if they gain weight, if they see stuff in magazines and online and whatever, that's how they get it. But if they are raised in such a way where exercise is normal, like mommy's not exercising because she needs to lose weight or because of X, Y, and Z. She's exercising because, well, that's what she does on Tuesday afternoon. Mm-hmm. And then, we're eating chicken and vegetables and rice and these things. And not because we're punishing ourselves because we have vacation coming up in 3 weeks. It's just because that's what's for dinner tonight. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we'll have cake when it's birthday time and we'll get a treat and go to McDonald's and here and there, but we don't do it too much because it makes my tummy hurt. It feels good, but then it makes my tummy hurt. And so it's not about making this thing like a punishment or anything. It's just what we do. Yes. Like I mentioned before, I don't have this thing. I didn't grow up in a way where I didn't have real fitness problems, right? Like I played sports as a kid. My dad was very athletic. My mom wasn't, but she was always very supportive of us. We were always playing sports. We watched movies about sports. We'd play outside. We'd watch the Rocky movies and see Rocky, working out and looking jacked. And then we'd go and try and like do the stuff but we were encouraged to do that. And it was never like, hey, you should go for a run because, you're looking a little chunky. It was like, hey, you need to run because you like soccer. You need to be better at soccer. So mm-hmm. like that's part of it, right? And it wasn't a punishment. It was just a performance-based thing. And so if you're training and working out and eating healthy and playing outside and doing these things, that's normal. And like you said, we need to get back to the normal. A healthy lifestyle shouldn't be labeled a healthy lifestyle.
Should be
it should just default. Be a normal lifestyle. And then anything other than that is an unhealthy lifestyle. If you're drinking, eating like crap, not exercising, not sleeping, constantly only playing on your phone and nothing else, like all that stuff is unhealthy. And we really need to get back to that. And it's not kids' fault. It is absolutely not kids' fault. There's no way it's their fault. But now parents, we need to now that we know better, like we have to do better and continue to educate all those who still don't know. Because as many people as are listening to this podcast that follow you, follow me, follow other people, that good people in this circle online, we have impacted like a lot of lives, but a drop in the bucket as to like what's out there.
Well, yeah, because honestly, like the outside noise is way bigger than us because, there's people, they just want to make money. I mean, there's an influencer, she kind of makes me upset because she's a NASM trainer. She has NASM certifications. And so it's like, you should know better, but she just doesn't care. I mean, I'm sure you've seen her, Diary of a Fit Mommy. She basically makes it.
I've heard only bad things.
Because it's only bad things. And it's honestly, it's like, why do you have to do that? You have such a huge following. Like, instead of like using that as an opportunity to educate these people and help change their lives, all you're doing is keeping them in that bubble, in that hamster wheel. And for me, it's like, that's so heartbreaking because you're a mom, you're a woman, you grew up in the same environment as me, you grew up in the same generation as me, you had the same bullshit fed to you, and you're feeding these people, your followers, your supporters, because they're supporters, they choose to be on your page. You're feeding them the same bullshit over and over again, but you know better. But you'd rather line your pockets. And I don't like that. Honestly, I hate that. But because the algorithm likes them, because they do things that shock and awe, they get pushed out more than you and I. Because honestly, like my stuff is probably boring to people as of late. They're like, oh, here she is again, the basics. But it's what it is. It's what it is. It's like what I told you earlier. If people would just try it our way, give us a year. Give us a year. We don't want you to pay us for a year. just because we want you to give us a year so we can teach you, so you can go run with it and run with it for the rest of your life. If you tried it for a year, I promise you, you would see that the other side of it is so much better. But you've got people like that who are like, oh, so how to lose your fupa or how to lose your bat wings. I fucking can't with that, honestly, because that's women's number one insecurities. The bra fat, the bat wings, and the fupa. Why are we preying on women like that? People need to stop. And it's women against other women. That's the worst part. You don't see men doing that shit.
I was just going to say, if God forbid I posted something like that, how to get rid of your bat wings or your whatever, like I would get roasted and deservedly so. Like I would get destroyed. But when it's other women doing it, it's like, this is, it's confusing to me as a man seeing this. I'm like, I thought we were trying to get away from this. And, you know, the patriarchy and all feminism and all this stuff. And it's like, but hold on a second. Who's the one that's in this context that's perpetrating these things? Like, it's not men saying that you need to get rid of this. It's women saying how to do this. And it's preying on that stuff. They
know what women are insecure about. Yeah. And that's the worst part. Like, how do you sleep at night? Like, it's one thing if you don't know better, but you're certified as a trainer. I don't know if she's a nutrition coach, but you're certified in the fitness industry. You know better. You can't tell me you don't know better. How do you look at yourself in the mirror? Because to me, it's just gross. It's absolutely
no one's
gross.
Doing anything by accident. You're posting that stuff like you're posting it on purpose. Like nothing happens by accident on the internet. As much as we try and make it nonchalant, like we know what we're posting, we know what we're saying, and sometimes you say stuff that will get a different reaction or will get less a reaction, and you can tell to a degree. Sometimes you're like, oh, this is a fire post, like this is going to help so many people, and crickets. But that for some, what's going to get people's what's going to get people's emotions going, right? And
yes.
And that's the sad part is preying on that, and when it's just perpetuating these negative cycles, because no one's ever going to get out of it that way. There's a fine line between like marketing aggressively and trying to sell things and get people on board, and using poor psychology to actually get people to kind of like to buy in, because by buying into that message, you're admitting that fupa, that bat wing, that whatever, that's a problem, right? Mm-hmm. Very sad state. Very sad.
It is.
As we start to kind of close up here a little bit, what were one of or a couple of the things as you kind of like transitioned out of that like whole beach body model into like the lifestyle that you live now? Practically speaking, what were some of the things that were the most difficult for you to implement? Because you were already used to like working hard and working out. You changed your training, changed the way you're eating and stuff. Like, what were some of the things that were difficult or more?
Probably the nutrition part, because most women undereat on protein, because we think that that's for the dudes, that's for the gym bros. So I was probably I had a hard time increasing protein and increasing food, because that's a total mindfuck in itself. Because I did see my body changing. Did I work out so hard with Beachbody that I did get actually like my stomach kind of flat? Yes. But it was at a cost. There's a cost benefit to everything, right? So then now I'm increasing calories because I know it's what I need to do to be able to sustain a healthy lifestyle. Well, now my body's changing, because now, for whatever reason, my body really just likes to hold fat in my midsection. And it's just something that now I've come to accept, and I'm okay with it. I'm like, whatever. I still look like a mermaid goddess, so I don't really care. My husband loves me, my kids love me, and everybody's happy. So that's all that matters. So ultimately, I think probably the nutrition part was probably the hardest, because I loved getting in the gym. When somebody told me I didn't have to do that much cardio, I was all the way in, baby. I was like, wait, what? Cardio is just a lever to pull? I don't have to do it 5 days a week? I can lift 5 days a week? I was all the way bought. That was the easy part for me. But I understand that for some women, that's the hard part, because they're afraid of getting bulky. They're afraid of getting manly looking. Mm-hmm. But I would challenge you women to go look at me, and I'm 2.5 years of actual just straight training to build. I don't look bulky. And if you tell me so, I'll fight you.
Yeah, exactly. And then also look at people like me who are trying to get bulky and struggling very difficult to do so. Like, it is not easy to do. It will not happen by accident.
Especially naturally. Because what people don't understand is they see these women who are training for shows. And I would question if some of them are open. There's one that I follow. Her name's Haprican. She is on hormone replacement therapy. Now, I know there's a difference between hormone replacement therapy and, actual just PEDs, because essentially the hormone replacement is just to put you at levels you should be at. But she still is getting an edge by being on hormone.
Anyone who's competing seriously is using PEDs and that's fine and it's okay. The other thing though with like a lot of those people, the women, is that they're not as big as you think that they are. On like when you see the photos of them, and it's because they look so lean and the camera does weird tricks, and it's not like they're photoshopping. I'm not saying that, it's just a camera effect.
Or they're flexed.
Really lean, or they're flexed. When you're really lean, you actually look way bigger on camera. But those girls are, if you saw them in real life, they're not as big as you think that they are.
Right.
It's just a photo thing, but it does fuck with people's perception for sure.
It does. But yeah, ultimately, for me personally, the nutrition part was probably the hardest, and learning to not be in a calorie deficit my whole entire life. Like living in maintenance was a whole new concept for me. And I think that a lot of women don't understand that. Like they do it because when they just kind of get nonchalant with their life, they don't understand that they are actually living in maintenance, but it's actually like intentional maintenance, like eating properly in a maintenance phase and not just eating in and out every single day in maintenance. Because there's a difference. I had a client in my boot camp that we basically just cleaned up her food choices, increased protein, and she's lost like 10 pounds in 10 weeks just off of that. And she's, maybe 70% adherent.
Yeah, when you really dial things in and make the right choices and kind of set yourself up, set your life systems up for success, like you can have very drastic results in pretty short amounts of time, and it doesn't even feel that hard. That's the other thing. Like she's probably not killing herself. Like you said, she's 70%, adherent. Like that's not even like, you're probably on her a little bit of like, hey, can we, clean it up a little bit? But, but it's like, she's getting it done. So it's really not that difficult to do. What meal prep tips, food preparation guidelines do you have maybe for people that can take away who are preparing meals for themselves or for a family with kids? I don't know if I don't think your kids are picky eaters, but if they were, like, how do you go about organizing your meals for yourself and your family? Because it's way different for one person versus for a family.
It's a little easier in maintenance because I can create like the recipes, like everybody can kind of eat like the spaghetti because I have more flexibility. But ultimately, I think it's just, especially if your kids are a little older, you kind of just have a discussion with your family and say like, this is the lifestyle change that we're making so everybody feels good and everybody, is healthier and happier. But I say keep it simple. Most people, most women, most moms, whether you're a working mom, stay-at-home mom, you're busy. There's no need for a Pinterest recipe. Let's stop. Because when they advertise a high protein, when you actually go look at the breakdown and it's only 12 grams of protein per serving, that's not high protein. So let's just stop with that. Honestly, keep it simple. Make it easy for yourself. Go pick 2 to 3 of your favorite proteins. I only meal prep once a week because that's all I have time for. I will not try to do it in the middle of the week because it's just going to be too crazy. If you're a stay-at-home mom and you can do that twice a week, cool. So if that's the case, pick 1 to 2. For me, I pick 3. Swap them out. I love to just do dry rub marinades on my chicken or my meat, my red meat. Cook those up on the Blackstone, a cooktop, grill, whatever. Ask your husband to help you. My husband will help me if he's home. If not, I go do it. I just cook all my proteins in advance and I have easy steamable vegetables or quick cook vegetables and then add my carbs. Don't be afraid of the carbs. I have a rice cooker. You can add pasta. Potatoes are clutch too. Just keep it simple. Go back to how people used to eat. Meat, potatoes, starch, or carb. That's it. And also, too,
it really is that simple.
Women, you guys need to build your plates around the protein. I heard a really good tip on a podcast where when you're trying to figure out your meal, don't plan it around the carb, plan it around the protein. Say, I'm going to have some chicken and this, and then a salad. Always start with your protein. Women are so underfed on protein, and you would be surprised how much better you're going to feel and how more like satiated you're going to feel throughout the day if you just focus on protein. Most women are sub 100 grams of protein on a daily basis.
Way less, I think. 100 would be a good day for some people.
Yeah, most of my clients on my boot camp, when they first started tracking, because I will never make clients start all the things at once. I make them just start one thing at a time because I think it just gets too overwhelming. So I made them just track. I was like, just track for 2 weeks. Just track. I want to see your eating habits. And some of them, 25 grams of protein. I'm like, where's all your calories coming from? No wonder you feel gross all day. And so that matters. But yeah, I think just keeping it simple, pick your proteins, and honestly, stop living in a mindset where you're like, I get bored easily. But you eat the same things on rotation anyways. Mm-hmm. It's just a mind frame that you're going to have to basically reframe for yourself and understand this is what's going to make me feel better. This is going to keep me on track. Because ultimately, you and I both know you can change up with marinades, with rubs, with sauces, dressings. There's so many different things you can do. I honestly don't ever get sick of the same things. And then two, if you're a busy working mom, rely on the already pre-prepared proteins. The rotisserie chicken. I know people talk shit about the Costco rotisserie chickens. You know what? We're all going to die at some point. Just go make your life simple and go be happy. Deli meats, they have, Costco has these Mediterranean chicken skewers. Go rely on those. Have stuff on hand. Set yourself up for success, because if it's not in your refrigerator, more than likely you're going to divert. So that's going to be ultimately like my tips for people.
Yeah. No, I think that's so good, because it can seem really difficult, but when you actually kind of like draw it up and talk about it like you just did, it's actually not that difficult. Like, you plan it out. For sure, you should be planning things out around basing your meals off of protein. And then after that, it's like, well, yeah, you're going to have some carb and some vegetable, and like, yeah, it's not that difficult. It comes down, I think, more to like ingredient prep sometimes than like full meals. Mm-hmm. Right? If you have your vegetables cut and washed, it doesn't take much to cook them. Your potatoes, peeled and washed and cleaned, and rice and whatever, all that stuff, it doesn't take that much to actually like throw it in the oven, throw it in the rice cooker and cook it. Like, you're not actually actively doing anything. You just stick it in there, take it out when it's done. And then the meats, when you cook all those all at once, like, everything is ready to go. And then, like you said, so many options for pre-prepared things, even deliveries. Like, if you must rely on deliveries, or like a meal prep service. Personally, I've not used one of them, but if you live in near any big-ish city, like, for sure you have access to that now. And those are pretty solid. I have plenty of clients who use them, and they love them. They're just too busy, can't be bothered to cook, whatever reason. They're phenomenal. It takes all the thinking out of it, but it just takes a little bit of thinking, a little bit of preparation up front, makes a whirlwind of a difference down the line. It just
takes some planning. That's it. Because most people, their most common thing is, I don't have time to meal prep. You do. I'm not saying that everybody has the same 24 hours in a day, but if I catch you scrolling on your phone for 2 hours, or I catch you at school drop off, still an hour in talking with the other moms, like, you had time. Yeah. You had time. I'm just saying it comes down to you having to audit your schedule and understand like what's important to you. What are your priorities? Because if you don't want to do it, then that's fine, but also manage your expectations around that and just understand this is what it's going to be for me. But if you want better, you're going to have to prioritize.
And if nothing else, then don't make it about you. It's not about better for you. It's about better for your kids, for the other people in your life, everything else. So if that is a way to, like, I think that is also a slippery slope. Like, women definitely, especially moms, tend to do too much for other people and not enough for themselves. But if by doing something for yourself can make it, and that's a whole other conversation, but
it is. We could go another hour on that.
That's another 2 hours of that. Yeah. but if doing something for yourself, if you can convince yourself that by doing it for you, you're actually helping everyone else, and that's the frame of mind, then I think that's a viable strategy as well.
Amen.
Good stuff, Carmie. This has been amazing. Is there anything else that you think that we should cover that you maybe wanted to talk about that we didn't get to today?
No, I just need moms to understand that there's a better way. There's a more sustainable way. You don't have to torture yourself into the body that you want and that you love. You can do that by just doing the basics that we keep drilling into your heads. And the thing is you have to give it some commitment for a period of time. I'm not talking 6 weeks. I'm not talking 12 weeks. I'm talking 6 months to a year. Just try it. I mean, what else do you have to lose? You've done everything else and it hasn't worked. So why not try this?
I agree. Great message. Your podcast is coming up very soon. I didn't want to spoil too much, but do we have a name for it yet that you want to let people know where they can, or should they just follow you on social media? Do you want to say anything about it?
No, we still are coming up with a name. We're still trying to feel what's right. We're hoping that once we start recording, something will kind of just fall into place. But I mean, it's going to resonate with a majority of people, but mainly we're going to try to resonate with the women, try to get you guys, out of that cycle, and get you to understand that we've been through it. So we speak from places of experience, and that sometimes we speak with tough love, but it's because it's from a place of love, because we want better for you, because we see it, we experience it. We want you to experience what we experience.
Exactly. No, I think it's great. I think it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to listening to it as well when it is ready, in a couple of weeks' time. But where can people find you and follow you in the meantime to hear updates? I'll put it all in the show notes, but rattle it off here for people.
I'm basically, you can find me at _getsfit. And that's pretty much where I'm at right now with that. If you guys have any questions, my DMs are always open. I'm always happy to help people. You'll get voice notes from me because it's just faster. And if you guys ever want to schedule a discovery call, the link's in my bio. It's in my Calendly link, and it's totally free. And if I'm not your cup of tea, but you still want help, I have several people that I can, shoot you off to.
Amazing. Carmie, thank you so much. Everybody, please give her a follow on Instagram. Stay tuned for her podcast coming out shortly. And really take all this stuff to heart, because there's a lot of really good stuff that was said in this episode, and a lot of things that will resonate with a lot of people who maybe it's different when it comes from me. So, Carmie, thank you so much. Is there any last message that you want to leave the people with here before we close it off?
Just go do the damn thing. You can do hard things. We believe in you.
Hell yeah. Carmie Hawkins, everybody, thank you very much for listening. I appreciate each and every one of you. Make sure you're following us both on social media. Like, share, subscribe to the podcast, all that good stuff. We appreciate you very much. Go outside, be a good person. See you next time.